Time now to take a look through the French papers, and for that I'm joined by Katerina Vitosi. Hello, Katerina.
Good morning.
Dominating the papers, of course, this morning is that battle at the top of the UMP party.
Absolutely. As you say, those three letters on the front page of pretty much all the French papers, UMP, that start with the right-leaning Le Figaro. They say this is, for the party, it's like watching suicide live. You know, this kind of real implosion, as we've seen this wrangle between the candidates, François Fillon and Jean-François Copé. As we've heard in the news earlier today, you know, the mediation attempts have failed, and the paper is really calling just for an end to this. In the editorial piece in the paper, they say, just stop this massacre. You know, they say, if you can't sort of come to a consensus in this, if you can't even organise your own internal election process, how will you ever go ahead to be successful in a presidential one? So the paper really has some very strong words for the candidates there. They've called them to organise new elections and just sort of stop the embarrassment, really, that this negative attention is drawing towards the UMP party. Similarly, as I said, it's on the front page of Libération as well, the left-leaning paper, the UMP. Now, they've got a very sort of amusing play on words here. This goes at your sort of ruthless universe. These are also the words for the French theme tune of Dallas. So Dallas, the American soap opera. This is sort of in the French version.
I've got the song in my head now.
Yeah, I know. It's been bugging me all day. This is sort of in the French version, these same words, and they say, you know, JR, Larry Hagman, he may have died, but the soap opera continues thanks to the UMP leadership wrangle. The editorial piece inside the paper, equally scathing. You know, they say things like this could be the end of the careers for these two politicians. I mean, you could argue that that's perhaps going a bit too far, but it is certainly an embarrassment. That's something that the paper stresses, and also says that unless the UMP can kind of consolidate their political line, it's going to be very difficult for them to move forward. So the paper, similar to Le Figaro in terms of, you know, you've really got to choose a leader, stick behind him, create one sort of political consensus. That certainly seems to be the message from both those papers on the right and the left of the political spectrum.
And in the editorial, I can see the name Sarkozy. What's he making of all this then?
Oh, well, according to La Parisien, it is Sarkozy who's going to be sort of re-emerging himself into this debate. The former French president been quite quiet. Well, in fact, he said nothing on this UMP leadership wrangle so far. However, according to La Parisien, he is actually scheduled to have lunch today with François Fillon, which seems to be quite, well, you wouldn't say that the timing is very subtle, so perhaps this is meaning he is going to sort of become perhaps an informal spokesman or perhaps an informal mediator to this process. Inside a piece in the paper, it says that those close to Nicolas Sarkozy say he's not said anything yet. He doesn't intend yet to become a mediator, but it does say that, you know, he left the party in good shape. I think some people maybe question that. Left the party in good shape, and he's very upset to see it sort of so divided over this very important issue. And in fact, there is a very good cartoon just inside Le Parisien as well, where we can see Nicolas Sarkozy saying, what if I just put myself forward as the sole candidate? And a rather diplomatic, I think it's meant to be Alain Juppé there saying, that would complicate things, Nicolas, so perhaps not.
An understatement, really. Yeah. All right, now the Russian Prime Minister has been talking to Le Figaro about Franco-Russian relations as he prepares to meet François Hollande.
Absolutely, as he says, this meeting between Russia and the French head of state is scheduled for this week. He talked a lot about Syria. I can imagine he was probably asked a lot about Syria by the French paper Le Figaro. Very strong words. He says it is unacceptable if Paris were to decide to arm the Syrian oppositions, as has sort of been a point that's been debated around a bit. He says that this would go against every international law. He says it is very controversial. So it's certainly going to be a very interesting meeting between Dmitry Medvedev and François Hollande as they talk about Syria as part of sort of the ongoing Franco-Russian relations. However, Medvedev does say that, you know, Russia has always enjoyed very good relationships with France. They had a very good relationship with Nicolas Sarkozy. So he doesn't see why a change of presidency would make that relationship any different. However, obviously, Syria is going to be, he himself calls it a very controversial issue. So it's obviously going to be something that is going to be discussed and perhaps a few hurdles that will have to be overcome there.
And a look now at a French health survey with some rather puzzling results.
Absolutely puzzling because, as we can see from, this is from the Le Figaro health supplement, a new survey says that French, they smoke a lot, they drink too much, and they're more stressed. But strangely, they feel better. So there are two. This is perhaps.
It's not saying drinking and smoking is good for you.
It's not saying drinking and smoking is good to you, but it's saying that according to some French people, it makes them actually feel better. So two sort of national health surveys that have come out sort of at the same time and say the Le Figaro takes perhaps a slightly light-hearted look at what the two mean for each other. So you've got on one hand...
Being a bon vivant, then.
Being a bon vivant, but I think perhaps the message to take from this whole piece is that a little bit of something that's good for you is fine as long as it's in moderation, because France still does have one of the longest life expectancies in the world, but in fact there's an increasing number of deaths before the age of 65 that one health survey has put down to too many fags, booze and good times, but at the same time then levels of people are less depressed, they are sleeping better, and there's less incidence of chronic illness. So take from that what you will. I think we might just pluck what we like from that survey and leave it there.
I agree with that approach. All right, thank you very much, Katerina.